Hey, this is United in Green. We're back again. Tonight we have some special guests, but before we get to them, we're going to welcome back our returning champion, Tyson. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. It was beautiful, if cold, up here in northern Vermont, but it wasn't snowing like it was yesterday, so, minor improvements.
That was yeah, that was a little bit of BS if you ask me. Like we had 70-degree weather the day before and then snows. I'm kind of stuck in the OR, so we have no windows every day. And when I went outside to leave for work from work, I was just like, what the hell? So, but we had a nice little meetup yesterday at Zero Gravity Brewing, and our other host here, Dan. Uh, you'll remember him from such hits as Talking Tactics with Coach Dan. How you doing, Dan?
Doing well, doing well. Thanks for having me. Excited to shoot the shit with you folks as always.
Man, Dan gets on the main pod. It's pretty awesome.
My,
He's
my
got a
life's my life's trending upwards. It really is, you know.
you got the double gig now, man.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Still don't pay me, but that's okay.
That's okay. Well, I'll talk to the United Green Finance Department and see what we can do for you. We kind of have Dan on retainer, so it's a call up at any moment for him. Um, so we'll get into next. We'll just introduce our special guests, both former Vermont Green players, uh, doing their work now in the USL Championship. I'm going to go to Nathan Messer first. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Any day playing professional soccer is a good day, so definitely can't complain.
How's weather down there in Rhode Island? Are you back in Rhode Island yet?
Yeah, we're back now. It's kind of a trip, you know. You go away down south, and it's like summer weather, and then you come back up here to Rhode Island, and it's definitely it's starting to get warmer and warmer. But today was a cold day, to be honest. So, honestly, I would like it to get a little warmer, but it's slowly getting there. I think it's a little warmer than Burlington right now, but it's not. It's definitely not too uh, not hot enough, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll be down your way. I'm going down for the Revs Miami game on Saturday, so I'll be down your way and hopefully visiting some friends in Providence while we're at it. My wife's over here making faces at me. So yeah, so our other special guest, and I think, are you guys still doing the podcast? We'll get to that later. But good friend of Nathan Messers, and also former Vermont Green player, and the holder of one of my favorite goals of all time, Vermont Green goals of all time, and also our first returning guest, Dave Noigbo. How you doing, man?
I'm good, just living Birmingham, Birmingham.
And it chill as ever too. Just low key chill as ever, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can get right into the podcast. It's great to see you guys again, and great to see Tyson and Dan. Always love having conversations with you guys. Um, so basically, our podcast today is going to be a little bit about transition from playing pre-professional leagues into the championship and the upper leagues. And I know Dan will have some tactical stuff to probably ask, or maybe just to fanboy out a little bit. But I'm gonna let Tyson ask the first question today since he's the returning champion. So
All right. So, I mean, really, my first question's for you, Deba, because you are almost at 45 games played in the championship. Do you feel like you've fully acclimated to the league? You know what you're doing every single game. It's not like, when I'd have to imagine when you were going into your first season last year that, you know, the pace of the game has to increase and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, how comfortable are you feeling being in that starting lineup?
Um, yeah, I would say I feel fully acclimated. Um, And definitely, yeah, the first few games were a bit of a transition. I think around maybe like midway of last year, I started, really feeling comfortable. But I think at this point, like, obviously every game is gonna have their difficulties, because there's no easy team in this league. But I think for the most part, yeah, I definitely feel like I'm at the level and always ready to compete.
So yeah, so on that, like when you made that first transition, and into that higher level, did you find the level of competition to be tougher, or were you pretty comfortable with, um, with your position, with knowing your own skill and knowing where you were at in your life? Like I didn't have any upper leagues I played in my sport when I was younger. So I went to college for a second, but didn't really get to play. But I was nervous going into college, but I can't imagine what it's like making the step from that pre-professional league where you're playing with other college peers to that next level. Were you pretty confident in your skills that you could play at that level going in?
Yes, I definitely was. I think I was like at the time, I think hungrier than anything. I was more hungry than like nervous. Like I think the hunger overrode any feeling of nervousness or timidness I might have had. But I always just remembered like telling myself that like it's gonna get easier eventually. So I just, kind of went in every day, put my head down and just took everything for what it was. And I still am. Like it's still, challenging every day, but it's it's soccer, so you gotta just put your head down and love what you do. So that's pretty much how I've been taking it.
Exactly, exactly. And Mester, same question for you because um I know that initially after the first season you went away and then you came back to us in the second season and played a few games too. So your transition's a little bit different, and you're coming into a brand new club. Um and actually kind of came in a little bit. You were one of the later announcements. But kind of just kind of slotting right in, like hitting the bench and then getting into the cup game and making that debut. So how was that transition for you? Um, because there are a lot of players that sure had played at higher level, but were also coming from USL 2, coming and you even got to play with one of your ex team Vermont Green teammates too. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Like I definitely feel like it is a major step up. However, like Diba, I was extremely hungry, and I think that you there's obviously feelings of like I was obviously nervous at many points, but I felt so hungry that like there's a moment in time where it just happened. Like at the end of the day, it's just a game, and once you get settled in and maybe like the first few minutes go by, like you get adjusted, and at the end of the day, it's just soccer, and you play like you know how to kind of. And like for me personally, like I've always like Diva and I talk a lot about this, but we always talk about our like you mentioned college for us. I think that adjustment period was maybe even harder for us, like the adjustment from youth soccer to college soccer, just because like we went from being like 17-year-old boys to like all of a sudden the physicality of playing with college players. And like playing with guys like from a physicality standpoint, like I felt like I was nowhere near. I remember thinking at the time like it was like I felt like skill wise maybe I could hang in there, but it was like I was getting so tired so quickly. I was weaker, like all these things. And at least with the professional level, like on that sense, like I felt like I was ready, like the physicality wise, like I didn't feel like there was much of a difference. And then, I kind of at the end of the day, like I trust my skill set, and I feel like that helped me get over like whatever feelings of anxiety or nervousness I had. Oh, yeah.
That was a fucking banger of a goal you had too against Charlotte. So that was an
Yeah.
awesome way to get on the score sheet that way.
Yeah. It was definitely an awesome feeling, and definitely like good, when you're kind of competing for right now. I'm kind of competing for, like I'm slowly building my way up into the team, coming from a guy that's maybe not getting as many minutes as I want to. Like getting a goal is obviously huge. So yeah, it was honestly an awesome feeling. So just like I couldn't celebrate like I wanted to, honestly, because we were it was I think we were 2-1 down and we just equalized. And it's a USL League One team, and probably like on paper, like we should beat them. So like I couldn't really celebrate that much, but yeah, it was still an awesome feeling.
Danny, I
Yeah,
know you got questions. Yeah.
so I got a bit more of a specific question. It's kind of for both of you. How much, I mean, I think as observers and understanders of how these leagues work, we understand that, higher level leagues are going to have higher level play. But what's most interesting to me in these changes is just the general technical ability as well as the speed of play that changes when you go up a league or how wherever you go. Is that something you guys have experienced? Is that something you've had to adapt to, similar to the physicality you were talking about earlier, Nate?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think everything's just a little bit better. Like I think I heard somebody say this, but every level you step up to, I think is everything gets just a little bit cleaner, a little bit tidier. Like everything. Someone like the player's first touch is just a little bit better. Um, the speed of play just a little bit better. The ideas a little bit better. Everything. For the strikers, the finishing a little bit better, and all that accumulates obviously, and you have just a much cleaner game. And I'm sure like as you move up, I feel like that's the kind of difference you'd see from maybe USL Championship to MLS, MLS to the top five leagues. Like every player here can play, but like there is just the little details. I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. Just reflecting on my time as a coach, I have teams that guys are looking to go off to college now. Um, and that first trial, that first, field day with whatever team they're going for, whether it's an MLS next team or wherever it is, they always come back to me and they say, I thought I could compete day one with these guys, but they're doing everything that I'm doing and they're doing it a step faster, a half step faster, a little bit cleaner. And so it's interesting to hear that that's still applicable even in the professional leagues in the US.
Yeah. Diva, did you have any of the same type of feelings?
Uh,
You know,
yeah, yes. I think like another thing that I might have noticed is people like they have their specialities like mastered. If that
Mhm.
makes sense. Like people have their what makes them stand out, and then they use that to, I guess, the best of their ability, and that's what makes them who they are. Um, there are some really crafty players, and some who are just like physically insane, like super quick. And then, if you mix that with like technical ability, you have a top player. So there's like, I think a lot of those in this league. And yeah, just a lot of people who really know how to use their strengths better than like I would say in college or any level I've played at before.
For
so like
sure.
on that question, on that answer, actually, like, so when you're approaching your attack in the attacking sense, when you're approaching a defender, and you're do you is it easier or harder for you to figure them out now? Does it take longer to kind of figure a guy out through the course of a game, like to the point where you're like, oh shit, I've got this guy now. I know what his move is.
Yeah,
Or
that's
is
actually
it?
a great question. I'm sorry. Can you finish your question, please?
No. That's perfectly fine. I was just gonna kind of expound on that, but like, is it easier to figure a guy out or harder, like throughout the game, the course of the game? I mean,
Um, I think, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think you also like Nathan said, like details also tie into like I guess knowing your opponents as well. And that gives you a certain type of edge. So there's obviously stuff that we might not have had access to. Like we have Y Scout now, where we can, prepare yourself for a game and see, I guess, what a player does. And yeah, definitely like, you can tell yourself and educate yourself throughout the game on a player. At least I can definitely do that better than I probably would have before. Like in college, I'm probably just like thinking so much about like my own performance and not really enough about what's really around me. But definitely, like, I guess the game education that I've gotten since making the jump has kind of like taught me those things. Like, you have to be really um, tuned into like small details, like what foot somebody is, stuff like that. And then like you can press them a certain way, stuff like that.
I guess that sort of leads me into another question is, I mean, both of you are obviously collegiate players, USL2 players, and now you've taken the step up. What's the level of preparation like at these clubs? Is it something that you've seen, just more resources or more time commitment now that you're playing professionally?
It's definitely extensive. We we definitely, like Diva said, like we like us as individual players are sometimes expected to use Y Scout to kind of maybe scout out the player that you're supposed to come up against. But also we do a ton of film. At least here at Rhode Island, like we will completely analyze a team from top to bottom. How they press, like mostly like we'll split up days where one day we'll focus on how they kind of how they defend. So from front to back, how they kind of press, what their maybe weaknesses are at the back, and then next day we'll kind of look at film on on how they attack. If they're a possession based team, if they're kind of more direct, and what we kind of do is we'll use like we'll do the film in the morning and then apply like kind of look at different scenarios on the field after that. And then the last day is obviously the set pieces if they have any kind of trick plays and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty extensive. In my time in college, William and Mary was not as we didn't do as much film, I'd say. Part of that was, like you said, like resources. Like we didn't have as many coaches. To be fair to my coaches at Windermere, they did, for the most part, try and like analyze every team we played, and we
Yeah.
did do some type of film, just not as detailed. At Providence, our film, like the film we did, was actually pretty extensive. Like we did a lot of film. Uh, we had, I think, one or two extra coaches than I did at William and Mary, and we it wasn't as like as detailed as here in Rhode Island, but it was pretty good, and I'd say the coaches did a very good job of that.
I don't have much insight as that. I was a fringe D2 player in college, so I got, the cell phone passed to me at one of their free kicks that made ESPN or something, like figure out how to defend this. So that's good to hear.
Um,
Go ahead, Tyson. Sorry, I just
well, I was gonna say, I just wanted to know, do you guys still keep up with, not just obviously you Nate, we're talking about how you and Deba still talk a lot, but do you guys still talk to a lot of the other teammates that you had in your seasons here at Vermont Green?
Yeah, from time to time, just like slide up on like an Instagram story or something every once in a while. But
Yeah.
you know,
We try, like I'd say we do a good job of like we'll try and watch like their games like a lot. Like we try and watch their games. Yeah, and keep up, like Diva said, like if something good happens, we'll congratulate on it, and sometimes from time to time we'll talk. Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
I actually have a question from one of my buddies who happens to be a season ticket holder at Rhode Island. Um and he wanted to know, um he wanted to know what Coach Smith's um how his tactical game plan changes or doesn't change throughout the game. Like, is it purely dependent on opponent, or is he pretty strict in his style that he wants to play?
Um, I'd say we have our style here, and Coach Smith and the rest of the coaching staff are, um, they definitely have a certain type of way that we want to play and we want to assert ourselves in the game. However, like every game, like sometimes different things happen in a game, and you might be on the back foot, you might be on the front foot, and you have to adjust. And I definitely think Coach Smith like kind of will adjust, in the game to like whatever needs we there might be. Yeah, so I think that like honestly, like to be fair, like pretty much like any coach, like if the game plan isn't working, then like you as a coach you have to switch things up, and that's one of the tasks of being a good coach. It's to try and figure out what's going on and switch things up, and I definitely think Coach Smith does that.
And same for you, Diva. Like, do you have a set system that you guys are married to, or is there a lot of on the fly changes?
There's definitely a lot of on the fly changes. Um, because just like Nathan said, like every game throws something different at you, and we have like a big diverse group of players who can fit so many different styles of formations. So yeah, we change a lot, but usually it's for the better, I would say.
And do your how do your coaches, each of you, kind of compare to the way that Pfeiffer coached?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Pfeiffer, I would say Pfeiffer was more hands off in terms of um, I think Coach Pfeiffer had a very like he knew that we were a very talented group of players, um, and that against most teams we were probably going to be like have some more like some probably more of the talent, and that I think one of his big things was to kind of get players to a point where they could fully express themselves. Um, and yeah, and I think that's why I think so many of us like really enjoyed our time playing with Vermont Green is because we kind of played how we wanted to play, as players on
Right.
the field. Um, and Pfeiffer is definitely a guy who's very emotional too, in the game. But I always thought that tactically he wanted us to play in a way that the players wanted to play. Like he was a true players manager. Like I feel like.
It seems that he gets like that out of every team he's coached so far at Vermont Green, and it's just like it's just kind of it's kind of amazing to me that like you 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 are allowed to kind of play like that in USL too, right? I mean, you're able to get that group of guys and you have them for such a short period of time where you're like just play your game and go out there and have fun with it. Um, but still, have that end goal in mind. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
Debo, what did you think of the style of Pfeiffer?
I think he was obviously laid back, just like you said, but I think he was also very clever in the way he set up the team. He used like the connections that people had.
That's
You know what
true.
I mean? Yeah, like he would put people close to each other based off their connections. And for instance, like he put Nathan at left back, put me at right wing. He's an attacking fullback. He's crossing the ball to me like 10 times a game. Like that's a
Mhm.
cheat code. And that's his so, you know. And then yeah, he I think set the team up in a way for us to succeed and obviously let us just express ourselves. So you can't really ask for more from a coach. And that's why we were so successful that first year, especially.
And did you guys ever like talk to maybe some of the other younger players who maybe came up through the USL2 ranks as well, who you're now, teammates with or know, and just kind of like do you guys compare like the different experiences that maybe, they may have had with some other, USL2 team versus what you guys got to have uh here in Vermont? I know that, not to brag, but with the US Open Cup run that our team had, or the Green had this year, it seems like it kind of blew up a bit on, soccer social media here in the US. And I don't know, I maybe it's just me being super braggy about it, but I felt really proud of all the fans who came out and stuff like that. We're able to just like have this super cool experience that you guys also got to have when you were up here. But I mean, do you guys talk about like the different experiences that you had in your USL2 teams?
Yeah, um, for sure. Like honestly, like a lot of people ask me about it. So like um, I obviously love to talk to people about their experiences at different USL2 teams, but like most of the time, like people will find out I played for Vermont Green and will ask me a lot of questions based off that. Like, oh, like because to be honest, like I truly think like Vermont Green is probably one of, if not the most famous like USL2 team at this point. And so like so many people have heard of it. Like every pretty much it's what I get. Like I mean, in terms of my soccer experience, it's what I get the most questions about. So yeah, people definitely ask me all the time about my experience at Vermont Green, and the fact that also like Nate Silvera was is also on the team. Like it means like like people will ask even more questions about it. But yeah, especially like you said, like doing the Open Cup run, like it felt like more and more like more people were paying attention, and I was definitely getting a lot of questions like, do you think Vermont Green will make it? Like we'll win the next game, and I kept saying yes because I truly thought we Vermont Green would make it far, and yeah, I mean it was definitely cool to see, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. There were a few of my teammates who would come up to me randomly in the locker room, like up the green. But yeah, it's definitely interesting.
So since we're talking about the US Open Cup, I'll say the thing that a lot of people don't really want to say. You know, the refereeing situation for those games was I'll be political about it, was not ideal, right? Like I know getting guys to come up to Vermont for an Open Cup game is tricky, but when I'm on the sidelines and I personally know both of the ARs from my beer leagues on Wednesday night, it's a bit tough for me to say they're getting the best of the best. What has been the officiating like at the level that you guys play at? I'm very interested to hear about that. And you guys can be diplomatic, you could be nice. It's okay, but I'm just really interested to hear from you folks.
Um, I think like honestly, there's gonna be good and bad refs at any level. If they're calling stuff for you, you think they're
They're a good
good.
rep. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're not, like it's had a few games within the last 2 years where like I've left a game being like, I don't know how this guy got this gig, but you know, I feel like I always kind of feel like that.
I always feel like at every level you get to, you always think the refs are shit, like no matter
Yeah.
what. So,
Yeah.
but like it, to be fair, like yeah, it's just I think it's just like I don't know if they, at this point I don't even know if they actually are. I just think that at every level, when the call goes against you, you're obviously going to be disappointed, and like yeah, so I think yeah, I mean, still at this level, like you definitely, we feel like there are definitely games where we feel like we've been hard done by. When probably in reality we probably haven't, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah. It's just interesting. the U.S. soccer, I don't know if you folks are aware of this, but they've sort of changed the way that they do referee certifications.
Mhm.
And the bar is actually quite a bit lower than it was a couple of years ago. So that's why I was asking. But yeah, it's good to know that, my feelings are validated at least by two professional players. So yeah, I'm happy.
All right, so I'm gonna get a question in. What's going on with Hot Take FC? Are we gonna get another episode anytime soon? It seems it
Oh,
seems to have ended in summer of 23.
Diva can answer that question.
it was it was just getting very tough with like all the time difference. Like even with our third co-host as well, like moved out to the West Coast and stuff. We were all over the place. You know, Nathan was going on trials all the time, and we just sometimes couldn't, find a good date. And eventually, things just kind of fizzled. And I think we're all kind of okay with it. It was fun when it lasted, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
we
Uh,
So
yeah.
you guys are suffering from success right now. You're just succeeding too much.
Yeah. Um, no, for sure, I agree with Diva. I also think like there comes a point where we're not as we're not in a position where we're as capable of saying our opinions. Like we're not just like some like just college kids anymore. And like like we were making episodes on maybe like we can't make an episode on like the MLS for example because like you never know if you like end up on the same field as them. Like like we felt like it was probably time to just focus on our careers and maybe I think it's fair to say that we still love like we still love like doing podcasts and stuff, and we still love like recording and in general like we love talking about soccer, but probably off air is better for us right now than on air.
That's fair.
That's fair enough. That's fair
Yeah.
enough. Tyson, you're up next, man. I'm gonna put it on you.
Just going and pinging around. Debo, now that you're actually, based in the South, being able to be, a whole lot closer to home, do you get, family members, friends that you grew up with, stuff like that? Are they able to come out to the games in Birmingham? Is that something that you get to experience quite a lot?
yeah, yeah. My family, they try to come when they can. Friends too, every once in a while. So it's definitely nice to be able to, have that because in college it was a bit tougher because Virginia is just a few states away, and then in Vermont there was like no chance, So yeah, it's definitely nice, to have family at games more often.
Yeah. Um, and Nate, what has it been like to be able to have Nate Silvera there, as kind of someone who you got to spend a couple summers with, and kind of has he kind of been there as like not like, just like another buddy who you know how he plays, how he is in the locker room, just as someone there to be able to kind of to be there and support both
Yeah.
of yourselves.
No, for sure. Yeah. 100%. I mean, like I came in the first day when I was a trialist and immediately I felt like some sort of um yeah, like I was a bit more comfortable than maybe say some of the other guys because I knew I had Nate Silvera there who, I got along with great, at Vermont Green. I kept up with and stuff like that. So I definitely felt like it was, like it was a plus on my side to have him in the locker room, and yeah, like even now it's great to have him as a good friend to have a good friend on the team, like can't complain. So it was definitely like great to have him there when I first came in, and yeah, to keep on building our relationship, as players.
I'm interested to hear from you, Nathan, about what it's like being a part of a newer team, right? I mean, Deba and Nathan, you both were a part of the inaugural season at Vermont Green, but what's it like at RIFC? What's the growing process like there?
Yeah, I mean it's it's funny. Like I don't know, like I feel like I've been through some of this already with Vermont Green. Like when you as a player, like a big question you always have is like, what's the fan base going to be like? You know, like we had no idea with Vermont Green. Like when Deeb and I drove up to Vermont, like we had really no idea what we were getting ourselves into. How's the organization going to be? Everything. And by the end of the season, we're getting a packed out Victory Field. It was like amazing, right? Um, and with Rhode Island, like it's very similar. Like like every game, it's just so cool to meet new fans and like see like our inaugural game was awesome, honestly. Like the first game, so many fans there, and it was just great. Like stayed after for like I think it was like 30, 45 minutes on the field just signing autographs and so cool, just to kind of watch just the club grow and they're obviously going to be growing pains, just like there were at Vermont Green, but it's honestly like these two experiences have been so rewarding and fun, honestly. So yeah, it's just awesome, awesome.
Well, we are almost coming up on time, but I'm gonna ask you guys each a kind of a final question. And that for well, my final questions. I'll let these other two guys ask you some final questions too. But my final question is of both of you, favorite moment at Vermont Green. And we'll go with Diva looks like he's looking to the sky, but trying to think because there's probably a lot of them. Nathan, I'll go to you first to let Diva ponder that a little
Yeah,
bit.
I definitely know Divas.
Yeah, I think we all know divas.
if he doesn't say that goal, he's a liar. um, uh, I think it's that win, the win against Western Mass to get us to the
Yeah.
playoffs. Um, the only reason why it's like I have like I'm thinking in my head it could be um it could be the Lionsbridge win because like we went basically back home for that win at the time, like we went back down to uh Lionsbridge, which was like 30 minutes away from William Mary, which we couldn't believe, and going down there as the eighth seed was just and winning the game was
Down a
unreal.
man. Down a man. Don't forget
Yeah,
that
down a
part.
man. Like yeah, like
Down a
everything
man. Yeah.
everything being against us and getting the win, like that was unreal. Um, but yeah, I'd have to say it's the Western Mass game just because of the fans being there. Um, yeah, I'd have to say that game.
All right, Diva. And I think I asked you that night after you hit that goal too. I think I asked you that night. Was it a vivid? But I asked you if that was a cross or a shot, and
It
you just kind of smiled at me. So
was both.
yeah,
Got to put the ball in dangerous positions. It's the only way you're going to score, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But
man.
I would say the Western Mass game is probably my favorite too.
I think for me that that was probably one of my favorite games. Obviously, the U.S. Open Cup win was
Yeah.
super super special, but like for us as fans and myself, like that Western Mass game was like that real first taste of like this is something that's happening. Um, and now I think, and I think I said it a few weeks ago on the podcast too. Like the cat's out of the bag now, man. People recognize what we're building here and what we got going on here. So, um,
It
yeah,
was
I
it was
think.
the it was the quintessential oh shit, this is real now moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are not gonna think that we're just the plucky upstart anymore here in
Yeah.
Vermont.
It's so funny you guys say that because like we were like just the story of us ending up in Vermont is funny too. I remember like I had decided to go to Vermont. I would say in like February. I want to say like January or February or so, and and kind of the other guys around me were trying to figure out like what their like the other guys in our house at the time that we were living in. It was like me, Deba, and a few other guys. We were Alfredo Bosalongo being one of them too, and actually Alexander Levengood.
Yeah.
We're four of the five of us ended up at Vermont, but at the time we were all just like I was gonna go to Vermont, and I kind of just asked Diva like also like what are your plans for the summer? I was like, you want to come to Vermont? And he was like, dude, there's no shot I'm gonna end up in Vermont. Like I'm from Atlanta, like there's just no way I'm gonna get up there. And like and then he somehow got in a meeting with Pfeiffer, and like he got out the meeting and was like, I'm going to Vermont, and we were like, we have no idea what we're getting ourselves into. Like neither of us had ever been like that far north. Like I didn't even know, like we didn't know where Vermont was on a map or anything. And then at like the end of the summer, like I just look at Diva at Virtue Field, like being interviewed by so many people, and I'm just like, dude, this was the best decision ever.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Danny, final question.
Uh, I mean, I'll take it away from the lower level soccer scene here and just say, who do you have win the Champions League? Who's going to go all the way through?
Oh boy.
I'd say Real Madrid.
I think that's a safe bet. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like they beat City. City's the only team that's supposed to be unstoppable. So it has to be them.
that's fair.
I think Madrid too, honestly. I just think they know how to win.
Yeah. I'm hoping as an Arsenal fan, I'm hoping that Bayern wins it so that we didn't lose to someone who also was going to lose. But
Yeah.
I recognize the powerhouse.
Dan is as an Arsenal fan is hoping for Harry Kane to get a fucking trophy.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
It's
It's finally happened, Dan.
look, he didn't win it with Spurs, so that's all I care about.
There you go. There you go. Tyson.
So, what would both of your pitches be to a, potential college recruit who's maybe looking at Vermont? They haven't really made up their mind yet. I know that obviously this year Pfeiffer has his whole crew pretty much lined up, but to any kind of really aspiring college player who's looking at Vermont, they haven't really made up their mind. What's your final pitch to them?
Um, I would say if you can get in contact with the club, maybe just ask some questions. I don't know too much on like what Pfeiffer's plans are, but I think even for somebody going up there to train, it could be a great experience because once you're in this team, you really don't know how things can go. It's just a matter of like, are you willing to put the club first and really just get to work? I think that's what it really comes down to in the end.
Yeah. Do you mean like trying to convince a player to come up north, like to play for Vermont Green? Like,
Yeah, like if they're like looking at like, some
if,
other teams or
right,
whatever,
right.
like why would you pitch Vermont versus any other USL
Yeah.
two?
I just think the whole experience, like I don't think you could get a better USL2 experience than Vermont Green. You'll play with you know, probably future pros. Like, I mean, like in the past 2 years, like the team has had a very good amount of guys go to the next level. Not only that, you'll play against, play with some of the best players in the country, like some of the best college players in the country, which is like great preparation for you as for most of the guys playing, college soccer in the fall. Um, and then second of all, like I just think the whole experience, like you get nowhere else. The fan experience, like the summers even in Burlington, like it's a great area to be in. Yeah, it's honestly an awesome experience, everything. So there's just an all around package, I feel like.
Awesome. I think that's a fantastic way to end it right there. It's been awesome talking to you guys. We're going to do a little housekeeping right now. We are the United in Green podcast. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook if you're my dad. you can also find United in Green on any of your favorite podcast platforms and on our Green Mountain Boys website, which is greenmountainboys.com. You can also find us on our partners website. We're very, very happy to be partnered with the Blazing Musket. And they are a blog site that covers New England sports, specifically soccer. They cover Hartford, they cover Rhode Island FC, our Vermont Green, and a little MLS club called the Revolution. So I'll be down there, hopefully getting to see Messi play on Saturday. And I'll be talking to our friend Sam Minton while we're down there. Sam writes for the Blazing Musket. Outside of that, 7-17 Birmingham, Alabama. These two guys are going to meet head to head. Their first matchup against each other. We'll see how that goes, and then Labor Day weekend, I believe, comes back to Rhode Island. Their RIFC is not yet in their new home stadium, but will be for next season. But until then, I just want to say thank you to both of you guys. It's been awesome talking to you guys. Haven't gotten to see either of you guys in a few years, but doesn't look much has changed. So that's fantastic too. And any final words from our two favorite hosts here?
Yeah. I just it's great to have I'll just give a little plug for Vermont Green here. That not that I need to, but it's so great that we've created a community in and outside of Burlington where guys like Nathan and Deba are happy to come back and talk shop about a team that they haven't played for in a couple of years. So big ups to Sam and all the folks over at Vermont Green for building this.
That's awesome. Yep. So as long as Tyson's said what he's just said, we're going to say it again. Until we talk to you guys next time, be safe and up the green.
Up the green.
Up the green.